Morning, riders. Today I would like to take one of my French girlfriends over here for a treat. You know, fresh gasoline, check on other fluids and stuff. Maybe even go to the beach. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But before all that, we need to take care of a couple of things. So welcome to another episode of Obscure Rides. Let's begin. Before beginning any type of work, you need to have a checklist. Unless, of course, if you're just like me, who don't have a checklist, then have a plan. And my plan for today is to change spark plugs, change water pump, dial the carburetor, throw in a fresh battery, and anything in between. And if your plan fails, we can always come up with another plan. That's it. So let's start our day by doing spark plugs job. I went to a local parts store and picked up some American flavor sparks, AC Delco. I'm going to be using standard tool available in every toolkit, and it's a very easy, straightforward job. Let's pretend I showed you step-by-step instructions, all spark plugs in the front, and there is nothing to show for. Mine came out to be black and sooty, indicating that the car is running very rich. Next thing on our non-existing checklist would be a water pump. It's located under the spare tire in front of the engine, and we were able to source a original Renault part from the sources we were sourcing it from. And in case you're wondering, this is the part number in front of you. Begin by creating some workspace for yourself. Remove spare tire, very simple operation. I know you're able to figure it out. And the water pump is right there. Now all you need to do is remove 7 bolts. How do I know it's 7 bolts? Well, I took a look at brand new part, and there are your holes that holds the water pump. We'll start loosening the alternator. 10mm bolt on the top, 17mm on the bottom. Just loosen them a little so you can move the alternator to free the belt. Move down to the pulley, 13mm bolt. You can take them all out at once, and this way you'll be able to take off the belts too. Now comes the hardest part of the entire job, breaking the bolts without actually breaking the bolts. I've been pre-soaking these bolts in penetrating oil for the past couple of weeks, so start loosening them little by little. And what's good about this job, that you don't have to drain the fluids, because all the hoses located above the water level, so you can keep your antifreeze inside, unless of course you need to drain the entire system. In case you're wondering, this is the thermostat located in the upper hose of the water pump. Well, it appears that 2 weeks of pre-soaking bolts in penetrating oil really doesn't do a lot. Bolts are so deep inside the block that looks like penetrating oil didn't get to even half of the bolt. And it was pure luck related for me not to break the bolts during this exercise. I'm going to play lotto tonight. This is the last bolt. And here is our water pump. As you can clearly see, surface had seen better days in its life. So let's grab a carb cleaner, a wire brush, and a rag, and scrape everything off the surface without actually damaging it. I also would like to clean the bolts and pre-fit them so we have smooth reinstallation. Next, we're gonna grab our gasket, apply a thin layer of gasket sealer on all surfaces around the water pump, and start the reinstallation process. Make sure you evenly apply pressure throughout the bolt-on process so the water pump stays straight and not crooked. And while I'm bolting that thing back on, let me throw in a fun fact for you. Left side of the wheelbase on this Renault is about 3 inches longer than the right side. That was done in order to accommodate torsion bar into a suspension. And while you're digesting this information, I was able to put water pump back on, intentionally leaving a couple of hoses off the water pump. This way, when I fill her up with antifreeze, air would be able to escape, and this way I have less bubbles in the system. After the pump is back on, it's time to throw in our belts, tighten and secure the alternator, and we might as well put the fresh battery with new terminals inside. So the job is pretty much complete. Let's start the car, see if she leaks. Oh, another update on the Renault while you were out. Was playing with all these loose wires and cut up wires and tangled wires, so got the dash going. Everything except this battery meter, right? So I guess that's where previous owner installed that. So let's start her up and see what happens. All right, let's do choke. Okay, let's pump some gas. There you go. So she warmed up nicely, thermostat kicked in, pressure is there, nothing is leaking. So at this time I think I'm gonna take out my timing gun and check on timing. Timing mark located behind the crank pulley, and she's supposed to have about 2 degrees after the top dead center. Another piece of the puzzle that we gotta solve is how to adjust Solex 2632 carburetor. This one comes with emission controls, and it says that a lot of screws cannot be touched or altered. Not much information available on this particular model. I did print out some of the forums, and if you know how to do that, know the process or procedure, leave me a comment. I'll appreciate that. And while you're thinking about it, let's get inside the carb and clean it out. Remove the air filter and bolt 5 bolts that you can see on top. According to the book, the less intrusions you have into the carburetor, the more successful you're gonna be. So unbolt the top portion of the carb, gently pull it out, and you would be able to access all of the jets that needs to be cleaned out. Okay, so we're gonna remove the float, and there are your main jets that I have to clear out as the car hesitates to idle on a low RPM. These are your secondary jets. Start removing all the jets and spraying them out. Spray throughout all the holes and make sure they communicate with each other. Put everything back together, and let's hope she's gonna start running better. Replace gasket if you find one. As I already mentioned, there is not much information available on how to adjust Solex 2632 carburetor. I did find a couple of sources, books, and the method appears to be the same. It's just the adjustment numbers are not. Like, for example, in this book it tells you to adjust to 700 RPM. On the forums people refer to 1000 RPMs, right? But the process technically is the same in all books, if the factory preset screws weren't messed around with, which I have no clue. So we do have what they refer to as a fuel screw, and we do have another one over there behind referred to as an air screw. Basically set your RPMs with a fuel screw, then play with the air screw to maximum RPM. Repeat the process until you reach numbers that are mentioned in the book. So we'll see how it will play out by the ear, and maybe take her for a spin after that. After about an hour of tinkering with RPMs and carb adjustments, I think she's finally running good. At this point, I decided that it was enough of luck pushing with automotive guts, so I jumped in and drove her out. She drove way better than I have ever seen her, but she still needs work, mostly electrical. I did order a distributor rebuild kit for this car because points are burned, and as soon as it arrives, I will resume the work. I thank you all for watching this video. Your comments, suggestions and questions are always welcome. Meanwhile, until next time, take care.